Shuklam Bharadaram Vishnum Shashivarnam Chaturbhujam Prasanna Dhyayet Sarva Vignopashantaye Gurur Brahma Gurur Vishnur Gurur Devo Maheshwarah Gurur Sakshat Parabrahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. So in Vishnu Sahasranamam, we are starting from 42nd shloka. We need to chant that shloka and then we'll look at the meanings for each of the namas. So in this, Vyavasayaha, Vyavasthanaha, Samsthanaha, Sthanadod Dhruvaha. There are two namas there. Sthanadaha and Dhruvaha are two different namas. So in the first line, we have 5 namas. In the second line, Paradhihi, Paramaspashtaha, Tushtaha, Pushtaha, Shubhekshanaha. So there are 5 namas in the second line as well. Now we'll look at the chanting nuances. Vyavastha is the second tha there, it should be emphasized. And notice, like, when these stotrams are combined together and when they are collated, so you would always see that there are some specific aksharas or emphasis, I think, they occur right after one another, and there is a reason for it. So in this case, that stha, that is happening 3 times. So it is not just, it's pure, like, very pleasurable to chant that way, but at the same time, there are vibrations that are happening in our body. So just make sure that, you have a stha, that tha is pronounced well. Some stha, and again sthanada. So all the 3 sthas are pronounced with the second tha. Now vyavasthanas, samsthanaha, because visarga followed by samsthana, and the same thing with again samsthanas, sthanado, naha, visarga followed by stha. And dhruvaha again is a mahaprana dha, second dha. In the second line, pararthi, again second tha for pararthi, and then notice the visarga followed by pa. It will create an F kind of a sound. Paradif, paramaspashtas, tushtaf, pushtas, shubhekshanaha. So after the first visarga, it should be an F. After the second visarga, it should be an S. After the third visarga, it should be an F. And after the fourth visarga, it should be a Sh, Shiva, Sha kind of a sound. Who would like to chant this shloka with me?
I will try, Srija.
Awesome. I was thinking nobody wants to do the second time. Okay. Vyavasayo vyavasthanas samsthanat sthanadodhruvah. Sorry, I missed it. I'll do it one more time. Sorry. Vyavasayo vyavasthanas samsthanas sthanadodhruvah.
Vyavasayo vyavasthana samsthana sthanado dhruvaha dhruvaha
Paradhif paramaspashtas tushtaf pushtas shubhekshanaha.
paradih paramaspashtas tushta pushta shubhekshanaha.
We'll try it again. And you don't need to get it exactly right, but just at least observe the nuances. I'll repeat it one more time.
Yes, Srija.
Paradif paramaspashtas tushtaf pushtas shubhekshanaha.
Paradih paramaspashta tushta pushta shubhekshanaha.
Yeah, so so what I will do is to repeat what are the nuances with each of the visargas, if you want to note it down. I think,
Yes,
it applies to everybody. Paradif. That's how in the chanting classes, I think some of the members have started writing, like, F between the two words.
Okay.
Paradif. Paramaspashtas with an S after the visarga.
Okay.
Tushtaf. Pushtash, like the S, shubhekshanaha, that S, the sibilant, the second sibilant.
Okay. Tushta, pushta, Shubhekshana.
Pushpa Shubhekshana.
Shubhekshana. Okay, Sriji. It's use.
Sorry, go ahead.
No,
Sorry.
no, please. You go ahead, Sriji.
Parathiv Paramaspashtastuštah Puštah Shubhekshana.
Paradhiv Paramaspashtastuštah Puštah Shubhekshana.
Awesome.
Shubhekshana. Okay, thank you, Sriji.
Okay, I'll just do the full shloka once and then we'll move to looking at the namas. Vyavasayo vyavasthanas samsthanasthanadodhruvah pararthif paramaspashtastuštah puštah shubhekshanah.
Vyavasayo vyavasthanah samsthanasthanado dhruvah paradih paramaspashtastuštah puštah shubhekshanah.
Awesome. Thank you, Kantiji. We'll look at the meanings now.
Can I ask you one question about
Sure.
Pararthi?
Go ahead.
In my book, Pararthi, the tha is a combination of the third and the fourth da and tha together, not the second one.
So tat tha,
Da,
tha. So it
So
is the tat tha, the second tha. Pararthi.
That's the, yeah. In my book, it is the third and the fourth. So I should correct that then.
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
Yeah, it is Pararthi.
Okay, thank you.
I'll also check in Shankaracharya's book to make sure. Oh, you know what? Actually, he actually says is at Parardhi. He used Parardhi Bhavaniji.
Which means third and fourth or fourth only?
The Parardha with a fourth dha. Da with a dha.
Okay, thank you.
Parardhif Param, because both meanings will be different if that's the case. Or would they be? Okay, we'll look at the namas when we get and go there. Vyavasayaha, the one who is the nature of consciousness, is how Shankaracharya gives the nirvachanam for it. But we'll also take a second meaning, which is not in Shankaracharya's bhashyam for this one. Vyavasayaha. He calls it determination. Samvinmatra Swarupatvat Vyavasayaha is the nirvachanam or the nirukti for this one. So, if anybody is writing down, I'll repeat that. Samvinmatra Swarupatvat. So, samvit means consciousness. So, Vyavasaya means samvit or consciousness. The all cognitions and determinations are possible only because of the blessing of the consciousness. So that's important to understand, and then I'll keep repeating that same message as Shankaracharya does that in all of his works, almost in every shloka. We are, that cognition that we have, that we exist, is because of the consciousness. And when we say, like, you know, why do the eyes see? It is the consciousness that enlivens the organs called eyes. The tanmatra called sight happens, the combination is possible only because of the consciousness behind. So he says all the cognitions and determinations are possible only because of samvit, the consciousness. So being that samvit, he is vyavasaya. He is the nature of consciousness. Then looking at the second.
Is it sanvit or samvit?
Samvit. With N.
Okay.
But when we chant, it becomes samvin matra. So there is a like an anuswaram that happens there because of va. Bindu followed by va is chanted as samvin. So it's just a more of a chanting rule than anything else.
And swarupatrat.
Swarupatvat. Because of that swarupatvam. Because of that swarupatvam. Samvin matra swarupatvam. Okay. So
That
the
from
other
Sri,
meaning, go ahead,
Sriji, where
Bhavaji,
is
sorry.
that from?
Which one?
Where is that from? Sammin Matra Surupatra.
It is Shankaracharya's Nirvachanam for this.
Oh, okay.
Bhavana.
Okay. Thank
Yeah.
you.
He is very concise in most of his explanations, whether you look at any of his bhashyams, whether it is the Upanishad bhashyam, especially if you look at Trishati bhashyam or any of the Namavali bhashyams, his explanations are quite short. And sometimes it's just a one-liner, and he's so eloquent and he is such a scholar that he can write so much that I probably would need a whole book to write. He will write it in like 4 words. So for this one, that's the only line he has provided. But there is a second
And
meaning. Go ahead.
second meaning second meaning you started with the letter D.
Determination.
Determine. Okay, thank you.
Determination. Yeah. So from the Gita study, we know Vyavasayatmika buddhihi is what Bhagavan says. So Vyavasayatmakam is very determined mind, focused, attentive mind. So he is Vyavasaya generally means that knowledge, that determination, a knowledge that is free from doubts. So Vyavasayatmika is not doubting what Bhagavan is teaching. In that scenario, when Bhagavan is saying this is the teaching without doubting it, just with a determined mind, focus on your sadhana is how he explains it, right? So here, so that is the second meaning, the whole knowledge that is free from doubts. That determination is Bhagavan himself. Next nama, number 385, Vyavasthanaha, the basis of everything. So again, going back to the substratum conversation that we've been having, that consciousness is the substratum of everything. But there is something else also that we've been talking about. So vyavasthiti or vyavasthanam means being in its place. Everything to being specifically demarked functions for each and every thing that exists. So whether it is planets, whether it is like stars, the moon, the sun, the wind, the panchabhutas, so having determined functions for each of these, determined functions for all the devas, determined functions for and actually that's a beautiful way that Shankaracharya explains a little bit, there is a longer 4-line description for this one, where he actually talks about, don't need to write this down, it's a little longer one. Maybe you can write this if you want, Nirukti, for this one. Vyavasthitihi sarvasya iti vyavasthanaha. So for everything, he provides vyavasthiti. And we'll look at what is vyavasthiti. And Shankaracharya provides a beautiful explanation where he says, the whole creation is regulated according to karma phalas. So based on the karma phalas, we all have our individual functions and roles. And there are lokapalakas who are the heads of the lokas. So lokapalakas have been given certain duties. And in this world, there are varieties of creatures like, Jara Yuja, those born from the womb, like human beings and various animals. Andaja, born of eggs, like birds and reptiles. Svedaja means born of sweat, that is from moisture, warmth, like various small insects and bacteria. Udbija, those born from bijas, like from seeds, like plants and trees. So as though to break the earth and come out is udbija, means that they're coming from out of the earth through a bijam. Each of these again has many subdivisions and behaviors, all the species, the genus, the whatever, the whole botanical, zoological descriptions of how all of these are divided, and everything has its own unique features and unique set of functions, but at the same time, as a segment of a certain set, they have common functions. So whether it is the varnas, the Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya and Shudra varnas, or the Grihastha the Brahmacharya all the 4 various ashramas. These are all clear divisions, is how Shankaracharya provides a 2-liner to explain this. And even within the body, each of the organ has its own vyavastha, which is again a different function from the other organ. There is no mix-up whatsoever in any of these, and unfortunately, we've mixed up our varnas. That's a different, and our ashramas are all mixed up for sure. But the law and order according to Bhagavan is very clear. He has clearly demarcated what our functions are. So he is therefore called the Vyavasthanaha, the one who determines these functions for us. Next nama, 386, Samsthanaha, the excellent abode. So for this one, there is a little longer nirvachanam for this. I'll just read it. Atra bhutanam samsthitihi pralayatmika samichinam sthanam asyeti samsthanaha. So you can write the second line if you would like. Samichinam sthanam asya iti samsthanaha. He is the maker and also the material cause. He is the manifest as the universe with all the orders. Having done vyavastha, he remains there as that which is already done. What it is essentially saying is, he is the karta for the creation of the whole universe, and he is also the one that got created. He is the karma of that as well. So everything comes and goes, but he is the only truth that will continue to exist in the manifest and the unmanifest form. Even in the manifest form, he is everything that exists, and even in the and then he has the ability to pull all of this in during pralaya and become unmanifest, and that one remaining factor will be him. So he therefore he is samsthana, the one that is the whole truth itself. So he is the excellent abode of everything that exists. Next nama, 387, sthanadaha, the one who gives status. So again, like, positioning and delegates and gives positions to each and everything that exists is therefore sthanadaha. The means, like, dadati is sthanam dadati. So if you want to okay, the nirvachanam here is dhruvadinam karmanurupam sthanam dadati iti sthanadaha. The daha is somebody who is the giver. What does he give? He gives sthanam. He gives position. So he is the one who delegates sthana, possession, and power according to one's own karma phala, and therefore he is sthanadaha. And immediately they will say, again, that's why Shankaracharya was introducing us to Dhruvadinam, because the very next nama is Dhruvaha. He himself is Dhruva, because the one who is constant and indestructible, the guiding pole that is always there. The Lord is like the axle of everything. He does not undergo any change or destruction, but always remains the same. And we have seen so many of those namas where he is non-changeable. He doesn't change. Therefore, he is Dhruva, Dhruvam. Again, is we use that even in our regional languages. It means firm. It means established. Something that doesn't change. It is Dhruvam, strong. It also means strength. Parardhihi, and I've been thinking about it. Both actually mean the same. Parardhihi. There are two ways you can take the second nama. Arthihi is somebody who actually seeks. Parardhihi. So para riddhihi vibhuti asya iti parardhihi. So I'll repeat that one more time. Para riddhihi vibhuti asya iti parardhihi. The riddhi or vibhuti of the Lord is para. His glories are countless, unmatched. And in the past, we've also seen the meanings for para and apara, very important two terms that we should not forget. So he is para in everything. His glories are para. His riddhi, he is para. The other meaning would be he is the destination of all of those who are looking for para. In that case, it would be Pararthihi. Next nama, 390, Paramaspashtaha. So I think this is quite clear. Paramaspashtaha means very clearly visible, clearly evident. So he is Paramaspashta. It's like not even basic spashta, it is the Paramaspashtaha. And here, okay, let's see. Ananyadhina siddhitvat samvidatmataya spashtaha paramaspashtaha. So anaya adhina siddhitvat. So not being dependent on anything. He is independent by himself. So he is not dependent. Ananya adhina siddha. Self-sambit. His consciousness is self-evident. And it does not depend on anything else in the existence to be evident or to manifest itself. But then we also have to think from the other lens. If it is so self-evident, why are we not realizing that we are this consciousness? And we kind of like, until we get to the last part of Veda, which is the Vedanta portion, we are not even understanding who we really are, our nature is. If Bhagavan, if consciousness is Paramaspashtaha, why aren't we why are we not being able to see it? Because of Mahamaya. That we will again get that into, I think there is a Mahamaya Nama that's coming in Lalita Sahasram today. So because of Maya, that is, we are covered in ignorance, we don't realize who we are, though it is self-evident. But as soon as we realize, then it is not from this moment, like, it's not from A to B. It's not a journey to go find the consciousness. We realize it is myself. I am the consciousness is a very quick revelation that will come to us as soon as we get the jnana. The next nama is Tushtaha.
Quick question. So I was thinking about Maya itself. Like, so does he also cause the Maya so that we go travel down the path to reach him?
Sorry, what was that? Does he also?
Does he cause the Maya to reach him? He wants us to travel down the path of Maya to come to the self-realization.
So as soon as the gunas are imbalanced, that sankalpam, that to create the universe, then the universe is created. And the first thing that, when the universe is created is that Maya component. And then he is the one that is creating everything, right? Whether it is Maya or ignorance, he is like, ultimately, if you trace back to the, all the breadcrumbs, then you will reach him, and there is nothing that will happen without him. So definitely he is the original cause, but Maya is the Prakriti and the Vikriti, right? Like the Prakriti that causes the Maya in us, that leads us to ignorance. And we are actually going to look at Mahamaya a little bit today to understand that that sequence of events.
Thank you, Guruji.
Okay. Tushtaha, one who is satisfied. Paramanandaika Rupatvat. So, Tushtaha means, we've been talking about this. Bhagavan is the nature of limitless Ananda, right? Sat, Chit and Ananda, or Asti, Bhati, Priyam. So, there are two ways to say it. So, he is like Ananda in the absolute measure. Any Ananda we are getting from any pleasures that we get is always limited and always in temporary. So we are talking about somebody who is always satisfied, because there is nothing else for him to achieve, nothing else that he is actually looking for. He is always satisfied. The other way to take this, and we have learned this many times, is somebody who can make us get to that point, somebody who can bestow us. Tushti is a very, very important term. Tushti, somebody who can give us tushti is Tushtaha. Next nama, 392, is Pushtaha, the one who is always full in the absolute measure. Sarva Sampurnatvat Pushtaha. Being Purna, full, endowed with everything. He doesn't have any more needs. That contentment is Pushti. So again, somebody who can bestow us pushti. Something that we should be continuing to strive for is tushti and pushti. And if these two are achieved, everything else is, piece of cake after that. Because you are content, you always feel full, you're not seeking any pleasures, whether it is worldly or even spiritual. Moksha is also, becomes an addictive thing, and then you just continue to, oh yeah, if I study this, I will get moksha. I need to understand this more. And we were recently talking about, like, alpascha kalaha bhava, lots to study. Anyway, slokas like these just, are in my mind and never come out. So it's about being that tushti and pushti are two critical factors for us to develop within ourselves, and Bhagavan bestows this to us. Next nama, 393, Shubhekshanaha, Shubha Ikshanaha. So that is the two words there. The one whose glance is auspicious. Ikshanam darshanam yasya shubham saha shubhekshanaha. I should have combined all the ikshanas here. So maybe we'll touch briefly and then I will post it in the forum. There is a length of discussion on various ikshanas or various drishtis of Bhagavan in the Devi Rupam or Deva Rupam. So Bhagavan is Shubha Ikshanaha. So Ikshana, seeing us, is Shubha. Our Ikshana, seeing him, is Shubha. So that is the two ways to take it. His drishti on us is Shubham, Mangalam. And when we see him, then it gives us Mangalam, it is auspicious for us. Therefore, he is Subhekshanaha. So the Lord is all the time looking at us from inside and from outside. But when we do not look at him, when we start looking at him and catch a glimpse of him, we say that we got a glance from Bhagavan. So we think we got a glance from him, is what Swamiji is saying. All that one requires is only a glance from Ishvara. His glance gives Shubha, auspiciousness. His grace alone is his glance. His grace is Naranam Shubhakaram, brings auspicious to all human beings. So, and he, explains a few ways how that Ikshana works on us. Mumukshunam Mokshadam. He gives moksha to those who desire moksha. Bhogarthinam Bhogadam, provides objects of enjoyment to those who desire them. Papinam Pavanam, purifies those who have acquired papa by taking to adharma. Further, his grace blesses one with the ikshana, the knowledge of Ishvara, that in turn is avidyayascha nivartakam, totally removes self-ignorance. Sarva Sandeha Vicheda Karanam, brings about the removal of all doubts and confusions. Hridaya Granthehe Vicheda Karakam, breaks asunder the knot of the heart. Hridaya Granthi. Sarva Karmanam Kshapanam, destroys all karmas. So how many does he do? Moksha, Mumukshunam Mokshadam. So bestows moksha to those who seek it. Bhogarthinam Bhogadam. So bestows bhogas to look for, or pleasures to those who desire them. Papinam Pavanam. So he purifies all the sinners. And then avidyayascha nivartakam. So he removes all self-ignorance. And then Sarva Sandeha Vicheda Karakam. He removes all the doubts and confusions. Hridaya Grantheha Vicheda Karakam. So breaks the Hridaya Granthi. And Sarva Karmanam Kshapanam, destroys all karma. So there are 7 ways. So Bhaskarji, to some degree, this is related to Kataksham. And there are ways how there is the Shuddha Drishti, there is Siddhi Drishti, there is the Kataksham. There are so many ways, and each of the Vigrahams that were sculpted by sthapatis, they actually designed the eyes of any of the Vigrahams in different ways. And there is a whole science behind it. on what is the drishti of a certain vigraham that we are looking at, murti, and what, if we go to this temple, that ikshanam is very different, and it's always pleasant, right? But they did try to look for what is the expression that is coming through the eyes, and especially like lips and the whole facial features of various murtis. Just try to closely observe and look at all pictures and see what's the difference between and each of them. And there is a whole science behind it. Someday we will probably go into a little more detail on that. So here Bhagavan is being praised as Subhekshanaha.
Shruti, the 7 ways to get his glance, is it?
Sorry, what is that?
You said it's the 7 ways to get his glance or get his blessing.
So
That's what...
seven ways his glance provides Shubham to us.
Okay, thank you.
Based on what our desires are. Okay. So next one. So I'm just going to look for in Ikshana if Shankaracharya has provided anything. I think this is Ishwaram Ikshanam yasya shubhakaram naranam mumukshunam mokshadam bogardhinam bhogadam. So I'm going to just, I think, post this part in the forum if anybody wants to. That is exactly how Shankaracharya provides those 7 ways, or 7 ways Bhagavan provides Shubham to us. So
Thanks,
next,
Guruji. I was just thinking of asking you, and then I was like, I shouldn't put too much on Guruji's plate already. She's doing so much. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I'll send that.
Same here. I was going to. I'm slow in writing down Sanskrit. So when you say the Sanskrit word, I'm not able to take all of it down.
Okay. So, or maybe it's for now, just think about it like, when I see it, instead of writing it down, so many times I actually write down, I would never go back and look at that notes again. But, it registers well if you just listen with, closed eyes, or like how, in a meditative mode, and try to understand the word. And then you can always go back to the video and then write things down at a slower pace, Bhavaniji. Like, I would suggest doing that.
That's probably what I'll do. Thank you.
The next shloka, it's a beautiful shloka, 43. Ramo, or we'll look at the individual namas. Ramaha, Viramaha, Virajaha, Margaha, Neyaha, Nayaha. So that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 namas in the first line. Actually, there are 2 ways you can take the last nama. Neyo, Nayo, Nayaha. So that is Anayaha is one way, or Nayaha is the other way you can take it. So we'll look at both the meanings, but Shankaracharya has provided as Nayaha. The next line, Viraha, Shaktimatam Sreshtaha is one nama. If you want to do slashes, note that down. Shaktimatam Sreshtaha, Dharmaha, Dharma Viduttamaha is one nama. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 namas in the second line. Okay. So nuances of chanting. The first one is pretty straightforward. All alpa pranas, many visargas. Just need to keep an eye on all the visargas. Vira Shaktimatam. So Viraha, visarga followed by Shakti is going to cause an extra sibilant there. Vira Shaktimatam. Sreshtho, that tha is a second tha. Dharmo, it's a second dha. Dharma Viduttamaha, again a second da. So otherwise, everything is straightforward. So who would like to chant the shloka with me?
I can do that.
Ramo Viramo Virajo Margo Neyo Nayo Nayaha.
Ramo Virado Margo Neyo Nayo Nayaha.
Virashaktimatam Sreshto Dharmo Dharma Viduttamaha. viduttamaha.
वीरः शक्तिमतां श्रेष्ठो धर्मो धर्मविदुत्तमः
Some dharma, just add a little more emphasis. If you want to do the full shloka, please go ahead, Gomati ji.
रामो विरामो विरदो मार्गो नेयो नयो नयः वीरः शक्तिमतां श्रेष्ठो धर्मो धर्मविदुत्तमः
Dharmo
Guruji, it is
dharma viduttamaha.
धर्मो धर्मविदुत्तमः.
Awesome. Thank you, Gomati ji.
Is it Virado or Virajo?
I've heard both variations actually.
Oh,
So
oh.
let's see what Shankaracharya has taken. I know when you said Virado, I did not want to correct you. I've heard that variation too. But Shankaracharya uses Virataha instead of Viradaha. But Viradaha would only just change it to somebody who bestows, somebody who gives desires. Both are correct. I thought somebody else wanted to share something. Okay, sounds good. We'll go to the meanings now. Ramaha, beautiful nama. Ramante asmin iti Ramaha. Okay. So there are, few ways to describe it. So Ramante, Ramanam means the one who is is full of joy. So when in whom we actually get full of joy is, or the one who gives full of joy to everybody is Ramaha. The one in whom people discover their fulfillment or joy is Rama. Even before Ramavatara, the word Rama was there. One can discover joy only in the Vastu, in reality, and in the Avastu, unreal, there is no joy. So whenever one discovers joy, one is in touch with the real, the Sat. One goes after the unreal things, searching for the reality, but the real happens to be oneself alone. So this is the Bahirmukhatvam. So we always look for happiness outside, but we realize at some point to look inwards and we find the truth. So without realizing this, one goes after the avastu to get back to vastu experientially. So there is a story here. So I think we can skip that. Yeah, so there is this interesting one. Parameshwara alone is that Sri Rama. He alone assumes a body in order to fulfill the prayers of the righteous people. By keeping the Maya under his control, he assumes Svechaya, by his own will, a human body, and that is what is called as Avatara. We have seen the differences between Avatara and Jiva. Go back into the forum for that particular post. In Rama Avatara, Parameshwara took the Ramaniya Vapush, the charming form, and was born as the son of Dasharatha, and the name that was given to him then was Rama. So Ramaniya Vapush, the one with Ramaniya Vapu means the beautiful body, the beautiful form, is also called as Rama. Next Nama, Viramaha, 395. Viramam. What is Viramam? The break, right? Or the ultimate end is how Shankaracharya explains it. Avasanam praninam asmin iti viramaha. In the avasana dasha, for the pranis, wherever they go, that asmin iti viramaha. The one in whom all beings get rest or take rest is Virama. He is Virama either because all beings resolve rest in him at the time of Pralaya, or because he is the one in whom the real respite from samsara can be got. So look at it both ways. So even on a day-to-day basis, I remember one of the Swamijis used to say, in India, we don't have a lot of these, psychological therapists and consultants and social workers and that sort of stuff, because And at any given point, anybody has any problem or happiness or any life situation, life event, what they do is simply go to a temple and sit in front of Bhagavan. Then all they forget all their samsaric problems, or they consult with the pujari there, and the pandita will inform what kind of puja could be done, or how to get upashamanam from whatever they may be going through, or however they want to do, like papa pariharam, or celebrate their shubha karyam. So there are so many different pujas that we do, and in that process we leave everything to Bhagavan, and there is no need for other human beings. And Swamiji jokes about it. The therapy, having heard from these many people, all their sorrows are being shared with this therapist, and this therapist now needs another therapist because he is like, his mind is boggling with the number of sorrows that, or sufferings that people have. So for us, it is not required, is how Swamiji used to put it. So because this is where we go and we get virama from our rest, we feel rested from our samsara. The next nama
Excuse me,
is
Sridhi. Can you please tell the second meaning one more time?
okay. He is the one in whom the respite from samsara can be got. Real respite, in quotes, real, not some basic help, but real respite from samsara can be got is viramaha.
Thank you, Shriji.
Virataha, we'll take that meaning first, and then we'll do viradaha. It will be simpler. The one free from desires. Vigatam ratam asya vishaya sevayamiti virataha. Being purna, he has no rata. Rata means desire. So therefore, does not require any vishaya seva, enjoyment of objects or special situations for his happiness. When we do stotrams, when we do pujas, Bhagavan has not asked for it. We say, like, abhishekam is preetikaram for Shiva. So does it mean that, if we did not do abhishekam, would he not be complete? Would he feel dissatisfied with us or with him, or he is looking for that abhishekam? Not necessary. It's a way for us to please him, but he is eternally pleased and he is not looking for any objects of enjoyment. Being Ananda Swarupa, he is the Atmarata, revels in himself. So going back to Bhagavad Gita, Shloka 255, we are about to study this Friday. So Atmanyeva Atmana Tushtaha, somebody who gets tushti and pushti from within himself is Virataha. Okay. Next nama. Go ahead.
You said Virataha. In our text, I find Virajo.
Virajo, yes. I know, I've heard that one too. So Ramo, Viramo, Virado, Virajo, Virato. So look at the different variations. There are 3 variations, correct. So Viradaha, if Rata means desires, somebody who bestows the desires is Viradaha. Da means to give, Dadati. So Viradaha, the one who is the bestower of desires. Virajaha, from whom the desires are emerged or manifested. He is the one who causes the desires to be manifested. Virajaha. And the desire could be taken as both, in that case, both the material desires as well as the desire to look for him. That Ananda that we continuously look for, he is the Ananda. That's why we are trying to look for it, right? Like that's our natural state and we are trying to get to our natural state. So that is the meaning, that would be the meaning for Virajo.
Thank you very much. Thanks.
Right? So is it right?
It's right.
Yeah, it's right. All 3 can be chanted.
Okay, thanks.
Next nama is Margaha 397, the way. Yam viditva amritatvaya kalpante yogino mumukshavaha sa eva panthaha margaha. So beautiful way to explain it. The end is Rama, the source of happiness. The means is Rama. Having reached the end, there is nothing more to be gained, nothing else to revel in, and therefore the end is Virama, the ultimate end. So, yeah, so it's he quotes Purusha Suktam here. Tametam vidvan amritamiha bhavati nanyah pantha ayanaya vidyate. So, or there is a second line for the same thing. Nanyah pantha vidyate yanaya. There is no other path for gaining the amritatvam. The one who knows him becomes limitless from here on. So this is the theory of everything, right? That the scientists keep saying it's called TOE. What by knowing what would you know everything that exists, everything that manifests. So he is that amritatvam. So he is the marga for it. He is the way for it to get there, and he is also the end goal once we use that marga. So with that, we'll conclude here. Unless there are any thoughts, we'll conclude with a Shanti Mantra. Okay. पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः हरिः ॐ श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः हरिः ॐ सर्वं श्रीमन्नारायण चरणारविन्दार्पणमस्तु. Thank you so much for your time. We'll catch up next week.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Dhanyavad.